Hello and welcome to the Female Founder Friday podcast with me, Lindsay White. I'm passionate about helping female entrepreneurs be great leaders, build high-performing teams, and create inspiring workplace cultures through innovative talent programs and practices. Because when people feel like they belong at work, they deliver their very best and businesses thrive. The Female Founder Friday podcast is all about connecting with the most incredible female entrepreneurs to talk about their journey to creating their own business, the mistakes they've made along the way, and how they view their own leadership. And I'm challenging all of my guests this season to take my leadership style quiz. And during each episode, we'll be digging into their leadership style and how it impacts the way they lead in their life and their business. And if you're interested in learning more about your leadership style and want some of my top tips to help you lead more effectively, you can take the quiz right now. Just check out the show notes or head over to 𝐒𝐻𝐢𝐬𝐤𝐢𝐬𝐨𝐝𝐞 and click on the button at the top of the page that says Take the Quiz. Then you can share your results, connect with my guests, and join the conversation on Instagram by following me at @HighVoltLeadership. Hey, welcome back for another Female Founder Friday podcast. An awesome episode, actually, because I have with me today my friend and beautiful founder, Stacy Walton. Stacy and I are good friends. We live in adjoining neighborhoods, and we actually met through an event, right? A networking event, which was so fun. And Stacy is an amazing human being. She is the co-founder and co-operator of 24/7 Electric with her husband, a lovely, growing organization. And then she also has her own business that she started, which is SW2 Designs. And I know that that's actually her real passion. And she produces really beautiful, creative, interesting stuff. And she's got an incredible story to share with us today because she's born and raised here in Calgary, where we both live. She's got a couple kids and has, done all of this incredible entrepreneurial activities while being a mom and doing her thing. So, Stacy, welcome today to the show. I'm so glad you're here.
I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm so glad at long last to have you on the show. And it's almost like a call-in show today because Stacy's on the move. She's paused. She's not driving, so never fear. She's completely safe. But this is a girl who has got so much on the go that we could just barely get connected, her and I. It was crazy.
Yeah, we did struggle with that.
We did struggle with that, but I know, you're a hustler, and I really appreciate that about you, that you are such a hardworking human, and that you've got these two really incredible businesses that you do along with being a mom, which is always a full-time job. So yeah, tell us a little bit about your journey as a female founder, because I know it's a good one.
Yeah, I love being an entrepreneur, and I think that came to light when you're actually running your own business. I spent a lot of time working for very, I want to call them the ADHD men. They have lots of dreams and passions, but they need somebody behind the scenes to execute them. And I spent a lifetime helping those people live their dreams. And when I met my husband, he worked overseas and he was away a lot as an electrician on drilling rigs. And when we were trying to figure out how or what we were going to do to bring him home, he decided to start 24/7. Well, sorry, back then it was called Rockwood Electric. It was new construction. It was a very different vibe in the company, and I was not a part of it in the beginning. Mm-hmm. And when we rebranded in 2014 to 24/7 Electric, that's when I came on board. And it was amazing. It was great. There's been an immense amount of rocky ups and downs because during that time, our children were quite young. Yeah. And they were doing all of the things, the dance, the soccer, the football. And it just is incredibly busy trying to manage things while you're running around and trying to get everybody to where they're supposed to be. So, and on top of that, we had a blended family. So getting everything going and starting was quite difficult. And then fast forward the tape, almost 10 years later, I started SW2 Designs as my children were grown, and I found I had more time for myself, dare I say. I never really had time. I was overextending my time, and then somehow I thought I had enough time to start another business. So we are strictly on the 24/7 electric side. We're strictly a residential company. So there's a lot of forward facing time with customers and the public. And that's where I come in. I love that part. I love the marketing. I love trying to take something that's not really a sexy subject, which is electrical, and, put some lipstick on it and help people really understand their homes and really empower women who are now the majority home purchasers and home deciders to understand what they do. And so that's really opened up an avenue there. But on the other side, I hated paying for all the marketing. So I do it myself. And that's where SW2 Designs came from, was the love of doing all of that, the marketing, the creating, the branding of t-shirts for small businesses, like just seeing how expensive it was for small businesses to be branded. And we were a small business and we wanted to be out there. So now that's what I do. I help micro and small businesses, get noticed.
Yeah. And you do, I've seen your work. And you do create some really incredible stuff. It's pretty fabulous. And I know the last time we were going to try and connect, it was so funny because we jump on the Zoom together and Stacy's in front of like her sewing machine. She's got stuff everywhere. She's got the football game on because I know you're a huge NFL football fan. But like most of us, you were trying to do 6 things at once because, that's what we do. And I love it. I really do, but I do love the stuff that you create. Like, it's pretty fabulous.
Thank you. Yeah, I do have a great time doing it. I have a little space at the Beehive in Nanton, and that's where I get to put the things I'm really passionate about making and creating, like my sweaters and some of my, fun decals and cheeky things and just things that I really, really love to create. That's where that's my little space out there. And then everything else is, what everybody else wants me to make for them.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. I love it that you get to do a little bit of your own and a little bit for others and combine it together. Now, I know that you often say you have ADHD and that is in fact one of your superpowers. Tell us a little bit about what that's been like as a female founder and dealing with the ADHD and all of that.
Yeah, I know, it seems to be such a hot topic to talk about adults with ADHD, but I think our age group, that wasn't, you just didn't talk about mental health. And now that we do, and I've been through a lot. And so getting down to the brass of what helps me, between the ADHD, the anxiety, at first I always thought it was just an issue where I had to have this level of performance all the time, but I never really seemed to finish anything. But it really was the lack of the cycle, the ADHD cycle, motivation, then you're hyper-focused, then you lose your interest. And so now what I find with that and why I say it's my superpower is because now that I understand that weakness, or what people would deem as a weakness, it has become the thing that I'm able to turn into my strength. And so being able to utilize my hyper-focused time to really be very productive, the 80-20 rule, and then using that downtime to really listen to my body and have downtime. So it's helped me balance my life.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I think you're right. We're sort of in our kind of mid 40s, and that would make us, sort of those mid to late 70s babies, even into the early 80s. That was only when things like ADHD were first really coming to life and the first treatments. And, I think about, I have kids that are sort of on that spectrum, and what is available now and the knowledge that's available now and the tools and the techniques that, the kids are able to leverage. That just was not a thing back in the late 70s or early 80s, right?
No. We
were just hyperactive kids, right? Right? That was
and it's so different. it's different in women than than it is in men. And I think women mask it a lot easier. And I think men just that, you know, or the young boys are active and always going all the time. So that kind of was just, that was normal. But if women acted like that, I can't tell you how many times I got in trouble for not sitting still and not being proper and not, I've literally never been accused of being a lady my whole life. And I don't want to be, because I love how crazy active I am all the time.
Oh my God. I said that to somebody yesterday, like every report card, Lindsay talks too much and never sits still, right? That is exactly my life. So I totally get that. But you're right. There's moments when it is a bit of a superpower, because you can do all sorts of stuff, right?
Yeah. And I like that I don't fit inside a box. I mean, I never have, and I don't want to. It was difficult working in corporate settings because I had to play this role all the time, and it was exhausting, actually. And now I just am exactly who I am, and you get what you get. And if you don't like it, well, then I'm not your cup of tea, and we're moving on with life. I just no love lost here. So just, everybody has a time and a season in your life. So
yeah, totally. You know what? I appreciate that. And I think for so many of us that are female founders, we have to get to that place. So I think that's such a great sort of topic to throw out there, that we're not going to be for everybody. And our business, like what we offer, what we do, isn't going to be for everyone. We actually have to get comfortable with that.
Yes.
So that we can feel really great about who we do work with, we not only who we produce great results when we work together, but also the work that we do that makes us feel great.
Yes. And I think a lot of the time, women and men, but just like in general, entrepreneurs struggle with that. Some of them do anyway, that almost imposter syndrome, especially when you're creating something and putting yourself out there. It's a very vulnerable position to put yourself in, and you're opening yourself up for that judgment, and you're opening yourself up for, you know, criticism and ridicule, and you need to be prepared to be okay with that. But sometimes, even, you know, when you put on your best face or your best mask, there are times when it's quiet and you're just thinking, am I actually good? Do I deserve to be charging for this? Do I, you know, like, I don't know how many times I've, like, when I used to do paintings and for people for their homes, I would do a painting commissioned and I would give it to them, and I would be waiting on bated breath, almost passing out, holding my breath, waiting for them to go, oh my God, I love it. Because you just immediately think, you just immediately think they're going to be like, this is not what I wanted. I hate it. I'm not paying you. You know, I would always think that first.
Oh, I know. You know, like, I'm 5 years into this business. And I still find myself in moments where I'm like, am I charging enough or am I charging too much? I'm comfortable now charging. So, okay. So gotten over the initial, does anything I do have value? I mean, that's, I think, the first hurdle. Like, because I think we all, we all struggle with that piece to start with. And then we're like, no, okay, what I do has value. People tell me that this shit is good. This work, coaching is transformational. The people strategy consulting makes businesses work more effectively and teams happier and cultures better. Okay, so I know this stuff works, but am I charging, like, is it too much? Is it too little? What makes sense? What's going to make me money? But still, like, man, I still grapple with that as I submit proposals to different organizations. It is a tricky one.
It is, yeah. And it's mostly the battle with your own emotion. I present something to my husband and say, because he's ruthless when it comes to money and charging, ruthless. You know, I get on the phone with a lady who's struggling and might be a single mom, and I'm like, let's just do it for free. He's like, no, we can't do that. But I'll present something to him and he'll be like, you're not charging enough. I already know before you even say it, you're not charging enough. He's like, you're overselling yourself. He's like, I don't know what number you're going to give me, but it's not enough. I want you to increase it 20% and come back to me. And I'm just looking at that number when I put it up like 20% or 15%. And I'm just like, I can't charge that. I'm not worth that. That's ridiculous. I'm not like some professional. I work out of my basement. But really, at the end of the day, it's how other people see you. And some people are going to find value in you and some people are not. And that's the part where I think it took me some time to get to, like we were saying before, that you're not for everybody.
No.
And you just have to be okay with that and you don't take it personally. And something that helped me was that this statement: you are somebody different in everybody's story, just as they are in your story. So in some stories, you're the hero, and some stories, you're the villain. Sometimes you're the protagonist, and sometimes you're the lover, the fighter. You know, there are so many different characters in a story. You play them differently for different people.
I really love that. That is so true. You play a different role in everyone else's story, right?
Yeah.
Wow. That's beautifully said. That's beautiful.
I don't know where it came from. It's not mine. It's not mine, but
we're just repeating what we've heard.
Yeah.
No, I really do love that. I don't know who to attribute that to. If anybody knows, send us an email at the show.
Yeah.
Female Founder Friday at highvoltageleadership.ca. We'd love to know. But I really appreciate that. And I think the other part that I would add to that is you don't always know what that role is. Like, it's not always immediately obvious.
Yes. And that's true, because people don't like conflict, and conflict isn't a bad thing. Conflict doesn't mean like you're fighting someone in the street. And being able to be comfortable with conflict means that you're comfortable for asking what you need in a way that serves you, as well as having boundaries, which people associate boundaries and conflict as one almost. It's crazy to me. But another thing I remember my grandmother had said to me was that it's none of your business what someone else thinks of you.
Yeah.
You don't go.
Yes.
You don't go around your whole life worrying what other people think of you. Now, that is one I didn't learn until probably last year. Like, really, truly, I have zero fucks to give what you think about me. I do now. But it took to be 45 to get there, you know. So these are the things that you have to kind of have when you're doing your own thing.
Yeah, it is true, right? You have to have and be grounded in the confidence that what you do or what you sell, right? Because I provide services, you provide, well, some services and some products, but like, you have to be grounded in the fact that your own deeply rooted confidence that what you do really does add value, that it has purpose, and it's connected to your own purpose. Because I think that that's really important. Like, what are you doing on this planet? What's your role in this lifetime? And then how do you provide for other, how do you service other people in a way that connects to that? That's what makes it really powerful. And if you're grounded in that, you're going to have moments. Hey, Stacy and I are talking here about, we have our days when we're not sure we're charging enough. And I love it that your husband like walks around as like, add 20% to that. Can he come over to me with my proposals? Like, for real, everybody needs somebody that's like, that's not enough money, right? Like, it's amazing. If you're deeply grounded in that what you do has value and who you are has value, then I think it won't slow you down for very long, right?
No. And that's a journey, I think, for everybody. And everybody's journey is different.
Isn't it? Isn't it a journey?
Yeah.
The one thing about being an entrepreneur, and you tell me if this is true for you, it's like every day is a school day. Like, you learn something every day. Like, can we stop with the growth for a moment? But like, no, That's not
Literally, like, took the words out of my mouth. I was just saying that. Like, some days I just want to feel like I'm done. Like, some days I just want to feel like, yep, I got it all. I'm good. I'm taking a break from learning something today. But I think that comes really because we look a lot internally for how we can always be better, and we don't project externally to why things aren't working out.
Yeah.
Something didn't work. So what was it that I could do? What can I change? How can I be better? How can I make that better next time?
Yeah.
It's a big difference there, that those two different spectrums, when you project outward,
yeah,
you never grow from the issue that you're faced with. And when you're looking inward, you're immediately, what was my part in that?
Yeah.
So
I think
so we're never going to be done. We're never going to be done because we look at things that way. Sorry.
Yeah, that's fine. I guess that's the exciting thing too, right? Is that there is always new things to learn. There's always new ways to grow. There's always new stuff to accomplish. And so I think, as much as sometimes we whine about it, that is the stuff that keeps us going, because there's always room for more and different and interesting and exploration. So I love that. I'm going to ask Stacy next about her leadership style, because she took my leadership style quiz. If you haven't had a chance to yet, click on the link in the show notes or go to highvoltageleadership.ca. There is a little orange button at the top of the page. And ironically, it says take the quiz now. And you can go take the quiz. It takes just a few minutes. It will give you some insights about yourself, about the way that you show up as a leader. And I'm also going to send you some of my top tips for your style so that you can be more effective as a leader in your business, but also in your life. So you can do that right now while we're talking, and then you can compare. So Stacy, what kind of leader what was your style? What did you get out of that quiz?
Yeah, so I was actually surprised because I thought I would be direct, but it came up as being supportive. And I think, or support. And I think that is the change for me. Because I think if I had taken that quiz, 5 years ago, I would have been a direct. It would have been very different for me. But a lot has changed for me in my life. And I think the letting go of the control aspect of that in the way that I decide to be a leader, that has changed a lot for who I am. And I think it makes it a better environment for people around me.
Okay, so that was really, really beautifully articulated. And I love the recognition that you as a leader and someone who is involved in multiple businesses, including the business of running a family, because let's be clear, that's what that is, that your leadership style has evolved. And that, you can be directive. You can give direct, information. I want this done on this date and in this way. That's super cool. And I'm sure there's still moments when you have to do that.
Yes, you do.
You do. But I love it's evolved for you into something that is more about supporting people in actually doing and delivering, and then encouraging them to embrace their own leadership. I really love that. And I'll have to say, it definitely, I will always go back to speaking about my husband and his ability to, as my family puts it, control me. I'm a very wild stallion, they say, and he's about the only person, like, when he delivers information to me, I will hear it from him. So when he tells me I'm being too harsh, I'm being too forceful, those were regular comments. These days, it is a lot about being, how can we support you in doing the job we need you to do? What aren't you getting? What do you need to be better? That's a big shift for me. You know what? I love that. And we do. I mean, Stacy, you and I are the kind of individuals, we have pretty strong personalities. We're pretty forward. We're pretty clear on what we want, and we want to go get it. Like, we're driven individuals. And so, sometimes, because I think my report card, aside from saying Lindsay talks too much and doesn't sit still, probably said bossy a lot. Yeah. We're bossy. We are. Lead,
Yeah.
follow, or get the fuck out of my way. That's one of my
Yeah.
favorite things, right?
Right. If you're not serving me, get out. You're in my way and you're making more work for me. So just be done. Like, how do you not see the vision here?
Yeah. Don't drive in the left-hand lane behind Stacy and I and go the speed limit.
I was just gonna say that.
No, but I love, like, that. Actually, there are moments when that doesn't get us what we want. That's number one.
No.
Second of all, one of the most important things we do as a leader is grow other leaders. And when that does not help other leaders grow in a really profound way. And so I love that you talk about the evolution of your leadership, because that is actually, that's the whole point.
Right.
Yeah.
It is. And really seeing it, like the change, it wasn't in the way that I spoke to others who served me in my businesses. It was watching how my children evolved into young adults.
Oh, I love
that. Was the difference. You know, this feeling and this need as a young mother, to that feeling like you're under the microscope. So everything had to be perfect. You were being judged all the time. And then, you know, the mom that my children have now is significantly different than the mom that I was when they were younger, because to me, I had to make them the most productive members of society. They needed to be out there. They needed to, you know, serve the community. They needed to work hard. They needed to, you know, be kind. There were just so many aspects of what I felt I needed to impart on them, that being a mother was more of a job, and it was a duty than it was about nurturing. And now that has changed significantly for me.
I love it. And certainly when we shift the way we show up in our life, it reflects the way we show up in our business. And when we shift the way we show up in our business, it reflects in our life, because let's be honest, the two things are not completely separate. We are a whole person, and we show up as a whole person in all of the different places that we exist. Our family, in our business, in our community, in our, you know, in our larger friend relation, like all of that. So Stacey, I just think that I really appreciate that you brought that the, you know, we have to continue to evolve. And that actually brings really incredible things to our whole life. I want to ask you now about, like, where have you made mistakes or missteps? Where have you screwed it up? And what have you learned along the way?
Oh man. So I think if you're not screwing up, you're not growing. And sometimes, you know, I definitely used to have a problem with failure. I wouldn't actually do something if I thought that I would fail. That would be like a paralyzing problem for me. And or if I thought that somebody else wouldn't find value in it. And I directly related myself, what I could provide to somebody, the value I was for someone else, any person, as the value that I held. And so I would make a lot of mistakes by just not doing. And more recently, so I'm 5 years in my recovery journey.
Congratulations.
I went through, thank you. I went through a profound change when I went through treatment and therapy. And I think the biggest mistake that I made in my business was not asking for help. And not just asking for help during that difficult time, but ever. I'll do it.
No help required.
Like I will do it. I will be drowning and not being able to perform at capacity. And my expectations of myself were way higher than the expectations of anybody else around me. You know, so really, you know, looking back on some of these things, the errors were my own expectations, never asking for help, and really not allowing myself to relinquish control in order to let others succeed. And so from all of that, what I've learned is that you need to give yourself grace.
Yeah.
You can't be everything to everybody.
No.
And you have to be vulnerable in order to be, I don't know how to say it without sounding corny, but you have to be vulnerable in order to allow other individuals to connect to you.
Yeah.
Truly, on a much deeper level than just surface.
I think that that's very well said. You're absolutely right. We cannot truly create really powerful connections and relationships unless we are willing to open the kimono, as they say. Like, we have to show pieces of ourselves, and you show different pieces in different relationships.
Sure.
But in order to create the connection that we all need, it is an act of vulnerability, and vulnerability in itself is an act of courage.
It is a difficult thing.
You have to be supremely courageous to show others your big, beautiful heart. You have to be really courageous to ask others for help and to show people that you're not perfect.
Yes. And that's hard. I think a lot for women. I think as women, we're hard on ourselves, and therefore we're hard on each other. Yeah. And, I think societal expectations of what we all have to live up to, it makes it difficult. And, if there's, people used to say to me, and it used to bother me, they would use this word inspiration. And when they would say it to me, I didn't know why it bothered me so much. And I realized it's because deep down, I felt like I had so many skeletons in my closet. There were things unsaid, undone. You might think this part of me is inspirational, but the whole part of me is not inspirational. And that's not the point. The point is that in that moment you were for that. And when you take that away from somebody who's shared that to you, you're devaluing the moment you gave to them, the support you gave to them. And so realistically, it doesn't matter how you feel about it. It's how someone else feels when they're communicating that to you. And that's what you have to validate.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, 100%. Like, take the compliment.
Yeah, just say thank you. Yeah.
Take it and say, really ingest it, internalize it, and say thank you. Because I think that is really interesting what you said, that you devalue the experience that they had.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I never thought about it quite like that. I really appreciate that perspective. But yeah, when someone says to you, hey, your hair looks great, don't say, oh, well, I just, blah, 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 messy bun. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Like, just take that.
Yeah. It's like when somebody compliments your dress and you have to say something awful about it. Oh, it was $1 at Value Village. Who cares?
Yes. Just own it.
Just own it and be like, dang, girl, $1 and I'm thrifty and this chick thinks it's awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
So, it definitely, I'd say the screw ups are plenty. It's not, and it's definitely not about, it's not about the fuck up.
Yeah.
It's about the action you took to change and what you've done to continue to change. Yeah. So a great part, when I got sick, my daughter was sent to go live with her dad. And I thought I would never have a relationship with her again. So you have to imagine 13 years old and you just found out that your mom's a drug addict.
Yeah.
And a severe alcoholic. How difficult is that for her to navigate?
Yeah.
And so, and I'd gone into treatment, and she was great. She went to Al-Anon for teens.
Wow.
She went to treatment, therapies for children with parents with addiction, and she really did the work. Now, we all did in order for us to be successful as a family unit, but she really she was still in the home when this was going on. And I always thought I would never have a relationship with her again. And I came out of that thinking a year into my recovery, we were going to be perfect together. Everything was going to be totally fine. And it wasn't. And I went into a really bad depression at that point because I was working for her.
Yeah.
I was working to get to have a relationship again with her. And so I wasn't doing it for myself. So as we went through that, every time she came to see me, she got a version of me that she didn't believe was real. She thought I was acting and playing. She couldn't in her mind conceptualize how I had changed so much from the human I was before to the human I was now. But this was the human I was always meant to be. Through all my childhood trauma and all of that illness and all the things that I suffered in my life, I now am at peace with it. And so she was seeing that. So she'd gone to my husband and she had said, why does mom act? Why is she faking it? And he's like, hon, I don't think you realize that's who she is. Pardon me. That's who she is now. And so in that, when she came back and we continued to build our relationship to where it is right now, that was a significant moment for us to say, you know, things aren't always as they are, and we need to continue to build on relationships because you may feel like they're not there, but they will be.
Yeah.
You know, you put in the time, you put in the work. I know I had a different point, but that would be my brain.
I love it.
Missing something there, but it'll come back to me. I knew that was going to happen in this conversation, but
I love it.
Yeah. So definitely the working towards work. When you put in the work, things happen.
Yeah,
period.
They do.
And that's real with anything.
No, I thank you. Let me just say thank you for sharing that so bravely, because and I want to say again, congratulations on your continued recovery, because you're never done being recovered from addiction.
No.
I recognize that. And I appreciate you speaking so bravely about it in this context. But it does demonstrate that you really have to be ready to be vulnerable in order to connect.
Yeah.
Family connections, the relationship with clients, the relationship with team, and all of that plays into the way we show up, the way we lead, the way we run our businesses, the way we build and grow them. And all of it comes back to us. Yeah. Who we are, what we believe in, our values, what we desire most, and what our purpose is. Yeah. And so I love you sharing that. Thank you so much for your courage today. I really appreciate it. I'm so glad I got to have you as a guest on the show. Thank you so much, my friend.
Yeah, it was great. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you so much for tuning in today. I sure hope you enjoyed listening as much as I did hosting this conversation. And if you did enjoy today's episode, would you do me a favor? Would you give the episode a 5-star review and share it with all of your friends? I would really appreciate that. I've got a goal to impact 1,000 female founders, and with your help, we can really amplify this message. Thanks again for being a part of the show, and don't forget to connect with me and all of my guests on Instagram at High Volt Leadership. We'll see you next Friday.